Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, The Inked Reader. My name is Eva and today I am hauling the books I've acquired during the months of summer. Now I will insert a couple of clips. What you see now is not all I've hauled throughout the months, but I've accumulated a couple of things and I happen to just have to travel a lot because of my placement and because of school and work, so sometimes I have to wait for trains, and in a lot of stations in London there are WHS shops that offer plenty of books to peruse from, so at times I'm finding myself waiting for a train and so popping in. So I got a couple of things physically while I was out and about waiting to travel somewhere, and then I have one Sapphire box today filming on this first clip. I didn't go crazy at all, and then I got a couple of more Sapphire boxes that I open up I think from late spring until now, which is September, the beginning of September. So yeah, basically this is gonna be like my summer haul for these last few months. Let's start with the charity shop findings. So let me put aside these things. So in a charity shop I went only once in the last 3 months, and I picked up a couple of books that just piqued my interest. I am trying to make my way through Stephen King's backlist, which is huge, and also Dean Koon's. Their books are quite easy to find in charity shops, and then what I do is, because I love some of the covers, the new covers that they did for the paperback of Stephen King's books, I will change them if I love them and keep a copy for myself of a version that I like more. You'll see in a second what I mean, but just to give it a try the first time around, because I might not want to actually have all of his books, I am happy to pay 50p for one of his books. So let's start with actually Stephen King. This is a very battered copy. This is what I mean. I found this in a charity shop for 50p. And no, if I love this book, I'm not gonna potentially like have only this copy or just keep this copy, because I don't mind the cover necessarily. I don't know if you can see with light, but what I don't like is how beaten up it is. And this is Cujo by Stephen King. I don't know, I just know that this is probably about a dog, that something happened to the dog and the dog turns rabbit or something. We will see. And then at Dean Koon's I found Frankenstein, Prodigal Son. Again, this is another very battered copy I found for 50p in a charity shop. Okay, so I close the curtains in the hope that I can actually see, because I was completely blind. And this is a kind of twist on Frankenstein by Dean Koon's, and I think you follow these bunch of people trying to capture this killer who kills people that have display traits of humanity that is missing himself. So I'm curious. Frankenstein is one of my favorite classics ever, so I'm curious what he does with these and its take on it. And I've not read a Dean Koon's book in a long while. Then I picked up from the charity shop Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn, and all in all it's about this woman who's trying to resolve a string of murders, I believe, disappearance actually, of 2 little girls, and in order to do so she has to go back to her family home where she has to live with her mother and their half sibling, half sister, and there are a lot of tension and things that have led her to leave that house, and now she's kind of forced back in. I don't know if the disappearance of the girls and their past will intertwine somehow, but I have never read actually a Gillian Flynn. I've just seen the movie, watched the movie Gone Girl, and I keep finding her stuff in the charity shops and picking it up for 50p, and I should get around to read one of these days. And the last one I found in a charity shop, it's something that's out of what usually I would necessarily pick up, but I'm curious. This is Mary Sire, I believe it's called, and I believe it's a historical fiction / literature fiction, and you follow the heiress of his fortune in her life tragedies and adventures. And at the beginning of this book there is a tragedy that struck in Mexico where a mine collapses and everyone after 48 hours is given for dead. Shortly after, a compound tragedy happens and a young boy is found dead in a hotel room, which I believe probably the family of Mary Sire owns. And so you kind of follow this family. They're probably the owners of the mine that collapses and of the hotel where this boy is found, and how she navigates these. I believe that's what it's about, but once I read it I'll let you know more. However, I've kind of tried to reach out for more books that I've never heard of, because I love being a booktube, getting recommendations, but I've realized that 99.9 of books I read now are through booktube, and I'm curious on what am I missing. So I found this in charity shop, and the blur looked intriguing. I do like family sagas, so we will see. I like W.H. Smith because they do often like buy two and one is half price. So this is what happened. For example, today I was waiting for the train and I got my hands on It by Stephen King, and I truly like this cover. This is these editions. So these are editions I really love, and I like to collect my books in these editions. Not all covers I adore, but this one I do. And It is a book by Stephen King. It's one of my favorite by Stephen King, and I have listened to this on audio, and I always wanted a copy for myself, but I was waiting to get my hands on a copy that actually I enjoyed the format of. So yeah, this is It by Stephen King, and honestly I don't think you need a synopsis for it. And then I picked up Dean Koontz Twilight Eyes. Now I'll be really honest, there were a few Dean Koontz books there, and I just picked one randomly, and I picked this one because it says the classic #1 bestseller. So usually sometimes when you find the cover, you know, it's #1 bestseller, author of. But in this case, this was the bestseller, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, which I could be. But I was intrigued, and yeah, I just paid it half because I had acquired it. I know that this novel is quite divisive, so some people love it, some people don't, but they describe this as being quite similar to a Stephen King's novel, and it's a novel that takes a bit more, it's a bit more convoluted than usual, and you follow this man, I believe, of Slim Mackenzie, who has Twilight Eyes, so you can see where humans actually are not humans. So there are creatures disguising themselves as humans, but these men can see them and has the task of kill them. I don't know, something of a sort. I am intrigued by the comparison with a Stephen King novel. We will see. So the next one, I've got the Gulag Archipelago from 1918 to 56. And sorry, the light. This is it looks like. And on the back, this is, I believe, a non-fiction. I mean, it's a non-fiction. I don't know if at any point he fictionalized parts of these. I don't think so. I think this is just a non-fiction. It's the author recounting his experience of living for 11 years in a labor camp in the Soviet Union, and he also collects 200 testimonies of other people that survived that period of time and survive a labor camp. And it's basically a window into what happened in the camps, what happened in Stalin's Soviet Union, and I think it's going to be political, but also at the same time looking at the human experience of those events, political events, and, you know, everyday life in those camps. So I've never read something like this. I've never read from anyone, like the testimony of anyone who actually has gone through these. However, the Soviet Union, their expansion, did impact my distant family, and so I've always been curious to know more about these, and, you know, the life and the climate, political and social climate that they were living in at the time. And again, I hope to bridge my ignorance by reading this. And speaking of becoming smarter, hopefully, I've got here The Brain That Changes Itself. So this is the last one I've acquired physically for this clip, and this is stories of personal triumph from the frontiers of brain science. And I got to know about this book because this author wrote the premise of Peterson's 12 Rules to Life, and I really loved his writing. I really loved his preface to that book. Really set up the scene for me in a way that made me immediately go on Amazon and put his book on in my cart, and then eventually I acquired it. I don't know though about the synopsis of this because it's one of those penguin bloody thing where it doesn't really say. My understanding is looking at neuroscience, the progress that I've made, and how neuroscience helped people recovering from different illnesses. So I've got big passion for neuroscience. It's something that I hope one day to be able to actually formally study, and so I get my hands on everything that I can on the topic. But yeah, okay, so let's move on to the box. It arrived more than 20 days ago, and then life happened and I just didn't feel like sitting in front of the camera or even opening books. But yeah, books make me happy, and I am now opening it. Let's see what's inside. Hopefully they won't all fall down. Okay, no, something fell down, so this is what it looks like. And we got plenty of bookmarks, which I will have a look. It's very campy, very old school. This is what it looks like. I didn't go crazy at all, but there were a couple of manga series that I wanted to try, and they had like a good price for the first volume, so I did. And okay, so let's actually listen. It's approaching Halloween, so it's the season of Stephen King, right? So the first thing I saw that I really love the cover is The Mist by Stephen King. I love this cover. I think there's a movie of these, which I heard great things about. I think it's about this family that goes to the store to get some supplies and become entrapped in this weird mist that descends on the town, and weird creatures, violent creatures starts to emerge or be, you know, they are part of the mist. I don't know anything else. It's a very short novel. Will I watch the movie? I don't know. Look at these. This is a nice cover. Yeah, I love this cover. I really enjoy the cover. So I acquired it. It was very cheap as well. Then we have, shall we do the books first and then the manga? Just a couple of books and then the rest is comics. So then I've got The Life, the Universe and Everything, and this is part of the what is it called? Oh my god, I've got brain fart. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series. They sold these for like £2, and I'm just collecting the series. I've just read the first one, but I really loved it, so I wanted the whole series, so I got it. And the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, you know, is about Earth is about to be destroyed, and one man gets to be saved by his alien best friend. And then I've got a book that I'm gonna read for Halloween season, and that's Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. I've never read one of his books, and I really enjoyed this cover, and that's why I decided to buy it. Spine in the back. And you know what also really pushed me to acquire it? Not only this stunning cover, but also the fact that this is about haunted house, which is my kind of favorite horrors. When they take place in a haunted place or a haunted house, you follow this girl, her family, when she was younger, moved in this house, and they had to flee within 3 weeks because of some shady things happened. And her father wrote, subsequently to this experience, his father wrote a memoir about their experience in the house that became a global phenomenon. So now she's older and she doesn't really believe in ghosts. She thinks her father has made up all of these things, and she decides to move back in and see how things are. So it sounds amazing. I've heard great things about this from other people that have enjoyed Sager's books before. So yeah, it's perfect for Halloween. I cannot wait. Oh, the light is better now, so you can appreciate the details of this cover. If you've read them, let me know which is your favorite. Before I go into new stuff, I finally acquired the last volumes in Dorodoro saga. Now, I was going through Dorodoro, and then, yeah, as I said, life happened, so I stopped. But I'm planning to read, first of all, Dorodoro and then read other stuff. So I've got a few volumes left, but I acquired volume 21. Sorry, this is the back. Volume 21. They become bigger and bigger, which I love. I don't mind at all. And then I got volume 22. Dorodoro. Again, it's another big one. And finally, the last volume in saga is volume 23. Oh, they're saying bye-bye. Details. So yeah, this is a chunker. I love it. So yeah, I'm gonna keep reading Dorodoro soon. Maybe this weekend, a bit more quiet. Last couple of things. There are both new things. So the second to last is Banana Fish. I've acquired the first volume of Banana Fish. I don't know anything about this series, but this volume was like £3, and I said, why not? The synopsis is full. It's full of information. So all I know is about these man who is adopted by this man who is up to no good. He's a very bad man that uses him as a sex toy, I believe. And now he's 17 and he's going through a rebellious phase where he wants to kind of challenge the devil that has been raising him. I don't know anything else. I don't know if it's a thriller action series. If you've read these, let me know how many volumes out there. I know that I can get this information on Goodreads, and I will if I don't get any answers. But let's see how it goes. Let's see how it is. I'll show you some of the art. Was kind of making the rounds again on Sci-Fi. I always see volumes of these, so I was like, let me try. And the last thing I acquired, which was actually the most expensive, at a whopping £10 Sci-Fi or something like this, was Demon Days. This is a Marvel comic, and I think it's a recent release, potentially in this format. And I don't know exactly if it's a collection of short stories with the same protagonist. It says, welcome to a world filled with demons and spirits, monsters and magic. This is the Marvel universe like you've never seen it before. I'll show you some of the art, which I loved. That's why I bought it, because it was like I saw some of the art and I was like, yeah, I love it. I miss reading graphic novels. I've been reading a lot of manga and less graphic novels. Again, I just have a limited amount of time, but I will go back eventually when I've got more time. But yeah, I love the art style. And I believe this is the story of Mariko. Mariko, she lives in Japan, and all of a sudden she starts hearing voices and seeing weird things. So she needs to explore her past and find out if what she's seeing it's real, if it's linked to her past somehow, or if it's just in her head. And there are monsters and fights and action, and the art is stunning, as I said a million times now, because I keep seeing things and going, wow, I love to just sit down and read these. Again, I hope to have a few days in the weekends at some points. But yeah, guys, moving on to the next clip. Impromptu clip, just to say I forgot to mention The Ritual by Adam Neville. He wrote one of my favorite horrors, especially of last year, No One Gets Out Alive. So I found this on Amazon, and again I was buying the one about the brain, and so I bought these as well. And this is about this bunch of men, grown-up men, that decide to kind of have a reunion by going to an excursion in Scandinavia in the middle of nowhere. And here it says they should have gone to Vegas. So they go, they explore the woods, and there is nothing around, no human, until they stumble upon a cabin that's been abandoned, but there are eerie signs of pagan rituals, and there is a predator around. Now, I love his writing. I loved No One Gets Out Alive. He did something unique, and he did it with a prose that was enchanting. So I'm expecting to love this, hopefully as much, if not more. But I don't know if I can love it more, but I can hopefully love it as much. So The Ritual, I'm gonna read this during spooky season for sure. So funny story, I filmed these when the actual box came in, thinking about I'm gonna film this part of it all and then I'm gonna add clips to it. And then I went to film my mid-year book freak out tag, and I had to clean out things from my camera, and I forgot I had not put the footage already on my computer. So I cancelled everything and realized that I had cancelled the all I'd filmed as well. So I cursed myself. A lot. I regretted the day I was born for around 5 minutes, and then now I'm sitting down here and I'm saying I'm gonna film this clip again since this incident happened. But without further ado, I'm gonna show you what I initially unboxed from Sapphire. This is the order I put in June. Sapphire does daily and weekly deals, and that's how I acquired these books. And yeah, without further ado, I've got 4 manga to show you and 4 books. So I'm gonna start out with the manga, and then I'm gonna show you the books. So I'm gonna start out with the manga just because, yes, I bought 4 of them, but technically it's just a couple of things. So I purchased volume 17, gorgeous copies, volume 18, and volume 19 of Doradoro, which is a massive volume. and not complaining. It's also like very bright, so when I enter the room now, my eye just immediately flashes to to these, because I keep them up there, and it's very bright compared to all the other volumes. So odd choice, but probably it's a very important volume, I'm assuming. And then the other manga I purchased was Vagabond Volume 5, which unfortunately didn't come in the best conditions. Hopefully you can't see them in on camera, and I say hopefully just because it means that it's not that visible if you can't see on camera. And these are the Viz edition, so contains 3 volumes, especially volume 5 are volumes, I don't know, I think it gets to chapter 143. So, oh yeah, volume 13, volume 14 and volume 15 then. It's volume 5 of these. I adore the spine. This is a historical fiction inspired by a true historic figure. It's a Ronin figure. And it's this Ronin who is basically going around Japan and challenging all the masters because he wants to challenge them all and become the strongest. And I've been loving the art, and it's been really growing on me, Vagabond, so I need to continue on. And I found this for a reasonable price on Sapphire. So now the 4 books I have to show you are all horror apart from one. So I'll start with the one that is not horror, and it's a fantasy. I'm finishing the Tower of Babel, the Books of Babel series by Josiah Bancroft. This is the Fall of Babel. Unfortunately, it doesn't match my other 2 books I have, but it's the same dimension. It's just a very different color, and it's kind of a lucid plastic feeling to the cover, but it doesn't matter. I like it, and it's in perfect conditions. And this is a fantasy, and in the first one you follow Stanley and his wife. They are on their honeymoon, and they decide to go to the Tower of Babel, this kind of fancy mythological place. And it's a tower of which each level it's an ecosystem of its own. Each level it's a world in its own. It's its own costumes, languages, even the environment is different. But usually what you do is you go to visit the tower, but you stay outside in the market. You don't really venture in because the tower is so complex that if you venture in you tend to get lost. And unfortunately Stanley and his wife become separated, and the wife ends up in the tower, so he needs now to enter the tower and try and to get back to his wife, and then all craziness ensues. So finishing that 4th final book, I've heard mixed things about it, so finger crossed. And then I have the first horror is The Reformatory by Tananarive Due. I have read The Good House by her, and although it wasn't my favorite horror ever, I really loved her writing. And it's a more slow-paced horror that takes its time to build the characters. It's a character, The Good House was a character-based horror. The Reformatory, you follow this boy who gets in a fight with another boy, and because of him getting into this fight, he's then put into this reformatory to punish him, if you want. And this reformatory, am I butchering the reformatory? Probably, the way I'm saying is a bit weird. So this says at the top, Jim Crow, Florida, 1950. So it takes place during the Jim Crow period. This boy's put there to punish him, and this reformatory is full of ghosts, and he needs to team up with some of them in order to survive this very bleak place. So let's see what she does with that. I trust her quite a lot. And then I've got The Ruins by Scott Smith, simple mass paperback, but I've never read something by him, so I'm happy to kind of, I've purchased this for maybe £3-4 and see what I think about it. I think this is body horror, but we will see. The only thing I know is about this bunch of friends. They are on this trip in Mexico. They are going to visit some Mayan ruins. One of them becomes separated, or he starts to go ahead, and then he doesn't return. So their friends try to follow him, follow his path. They stumble across this Mayan warrior, an actual Mayan warrior on a horse, armed, that says, now you have to come with me. And I think all hell break loose. I think it's gonna be very violent. I heard it's so graphic and horrific, but it's also such a good horror book, and I love the genre of horror, so let's see what I think about this. And the last book I have for this section of the clip, the first section of the clip, it's The House of Hunger. Now listen, this came in a bit ruined, which I'm not very happy about. Sapphire sometimes they're so good with, perfect, it's cheap, and they come in perfect condition. Sometimes it's not that great. But they had this cover for the paperback, which is only available that I'm aware of in the hardcover form. At the moment it's more expensive, so Sapphire was the only website that would sell these for very cheap in the paperback, but with this cover and not the alternative cover. So anyway, long-winded way to say I wanted this cover. I really enjoy this cover, and this is about this woman, and she is very much down in her luck. She needs some money, so she become the blood maid of this countess. And I don't know, I'm assuming in this world there are vampires and they can acquire people to donate their blood in exchange for shelter and food. So that's what she does. She accepts this position as blood maid. She gets to the house of the countess and things are way more dire than she believed. I might have heard that there is like a sapphic romance inside. I believe it's quite horror, but I would expect more like a gothic novel, which I'm all in for. Hi guys, so today on the chair instead of me there is the Sapphire box that just arrived, and I'm gonna open up and show you the books that I've got in a second, and then I think for this clip I'm gonna be off camera. I'm gonna just show you the cover. It's nothing new, a couple of sequels of books I've already read and I want to continue on, and a couple of manga that again are old sequels of series I'm in the middle of. So enjoy, and I'll see you on camera in the next clip. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you're new, I would love for you to subscribe and hit the button down below. I will see you next time. Take care of yourself. Ciao!